G'day guys, it's Texas on Real Life Forward Driving, and today we're rebuilding the transfer case, so let's get to it. So I've cleaned up all the parts. This backing pad's all painted. We got to get new pads for that. The drum's all painted, the cover's painted, all our aluminium bits are all cleaned up. These gears are all been cleaned up. These I need replacing, and this one here needs replacing. The teeth on the inside are buggered. And of course the casing over here has been all cleaned up as well. It's not perfect, but it'll do. Looks alright. So we'll start putting it back together. Right, so here's the casing. We've got the idler gear in there because I can't get it out. I don't know if there is a way to get it out, but the holes are too small, so I don't know how to get it out. But that's alright. So I've put little bearings in there. You can see the little bearings in there, the little needle rollers. There's a little spacer in the middle as well. We need to put these crush washers on and the shaft through here. But before we do that, we got to get this shaft here all set up. So I've already put this gear here on and knocked this bearing on. Now what we got to do is get this little sleeve here, brand new from Terrain Tamer, as well as this gear. So thank you, Terrain Tamer. Put this on here. See, and that's in high range right there. And that's locked up. When it lifts up, it spins freely. But anyway, so then you got to put this and just sit it there like that. So that ends in there like this. And you get your low range gear, which is this big gear here. And you sit it in here like this. Right, so there's that shaft in there. So, get this shaft, put it through this gear here, and slide it across in this gap down here in the idler. Now, you can't forget about a little washer. This washer right here slides on here. Like this. And just sit it on the shaft there for now. Then we get this bearing here. We've already knocked the bearing race in. When you do the bearing race, make sure it suits the bearing so it pushes out on it like this. I made the mistake of going the other way. Messes a heap of things up. The shaft's got play in it back and forward. This piece here that sits on the outside doesn't sit in properly. It's a mess. So make sure your bearing sits like this. So put him on the shaft. Just like that. And push it through. Now, you can see this bearing here is pushed all the way up there. So now what we got to do is from the other side, tap this shaft and it'll push through on this bearing.
So you should never do this. You can see there I'm hitting the shaft with a hammer. Biggest mistake I've made on this gearbox transfer case project. Always sit a block of wood there or use a brass hammer or something so that you don't mess up the splines on the shaft, or worse, crack the shaft and weaken it. So make sure you never do that.
Now this idler gear can get in the road, so be very patient. Make sure you don't hit anything too hard and break it. And if it's not working with a small hammer, the answer is not always to go and get a bigger hammer. Now check for play in these gears. See how there's a bit of play between that bearing and this little shaft in here and this collar. That means we've got to tap it through a little bit more. how much play's in there on both sides, so we need to tap this bearing in as well. I'll do that after we get this front.
Also guys, once you've finished watching this video, head over to Instagram and have a look and follow my Instagram page, All Out 4-Wheel Driving. So head over there.
Now I'll tap this bearing here in. So what you want to do, find a socket that fits over there. This is not quite long enough. So there's this little collar here, you put over here, on the inside race, this socket. Hear that different noise? That means it's bottomed out. Take this collar off in this socket. You can see there's a little play in there. So that's good. The bearings are all good. Alright, so now get your gasket and line it up. They're not always going to work because there's different holes, as you can see here. So just keep spinning it until it works. Like right there. Now, this transfer case over here, we can put this onto that. Right, also we've got this collar on, like this. Get your bolts and just thread it in. Alright, so the transfer case is all completed. We've got all the parts together and it looks really nice. So next video we're going to be rebuilding the gearbox. We've got $2,000 worth of terrain tamer parts lined up to come. So next video might be a while away, but we'll get there. So see you in the next video, guys.